All right, guys, I am back with a brand new DC update. And today's video is going to be interesting. I wanted to see what happened with my comments on the last two videos I did in regards to The Flash and how the internet was going to react. And believe it or not, there are way more negative reviews on The Flash than there are positive. And mine was not in the negative category. It sounded like it based off of my review and the things that I mentioned. But you got to remember, I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought about bumping it down to a 2.5, but I'm going to wait to reserve judgment until I see the final product. I do have tickets for the Thursday before the official release. Me and my wife are going to go see it, and we're going to see what they change. We're being told all kinds of different things. Nobody knows what's going on, but there are 2 post-credit scenes that we didn't get to see, and I'm being told that there's 20 minutes being added into the movie, which I don't know if it's going to be true, and if they fixed the special effects. And I'm telling you guys, at the beginning of that movie, the Batman effects, when he's on the highway and you've seen the little short clip of him running and sliding and then jumping off the car, the rest of that's ridiculous. Like, it looks terrible. Terrible. Absolutely freaking terrible. The only time it looks cool is when he's sliding off to the side, the one we've already seen in the trailer, and that little clip you saw. The rest of it is horrendous, and I'm really hoping they fix the special effects on that. But I'm going to talk a bit more about The Flash here in a few minutes, but I'm not the only one that had issues with it. A lot of people have issues with it. And it's crazy when you see this movie was expected to make between 135 or 125 and 145 million. Yeah, they've revised that. Wait till you see what they expect this to make on opening weekend. And what people don't realize is James Gunn has destroyed the DC universe. By getting rid of Cavill, they started a chain reaction, and I don't think they're going to be able to recover from it. I really don't. He was not the guy to be put in charge of this. People are going to say, wait to see what he does. I've seen enough of what he does. The Flash is very indicative of what he did, and the very final scene was specifically there to set up his DCU. Now, I'm thinking about doing a spoiler. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to add some spoiler stuff for The Flash at the end of this video, stuff that has been released online that people have already been talking about. So I'm not breaking this news, but I am going to talk about it at the end of the video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, when I get to the end of this video, I will let you know that I'm about to talk about it, and you can hightail it out of here. So let's look at some photos today, and we're going to see what has gone on since the last time I did a video. All right, guys, so I only have 2 photos to show you here, and then I'm going to follow up with some of my thoughts on The Flash again, some things people need to hear. Because contrary to what, like I said a few minutes ago, what people believe, I did not hate the movie. But it is comedy, comedy heavy. And this is part of the problem here. So this was somebody's review, said, The Flash review, one of the worst endings I've seen. And I'm telling you guys, it wasn't one of the worst endings I've seen, but it seemed inconsequential. And the way they're throwing together James Gunn's DCU, if the final scene in this is how they're going to go about doing it, the cheapest way you could go about doing it. But the good news is if they go by that, and I'm going to talk about that final scene here in a few minutes, then it's going to be easy to correct in the future if they decide to go in a different direction. It says, the movie has some nice performances. Sasha Calle's Supergirl rules. And I would say she was the character that was used the least in this. We really didn't see a whole lot of her, and she had a very specific role to play. And part of her story was what seemed a little disjointed, especially right after she showed up. And again, I'm hoping they fix that with the new version, but I'm going to have a review of that the night it comes out to let you guys know what has changed. And it says, and some fun action, but it's all watered down by a nostalgia bait finale ordered by James Gunn to set up his reboot, making it all feel redundant. Now, I don't agree with this. I don't think that the finale in this, well, actually, I could tell you based on the fact that we were going to have Batgirl, there's something that happens at the end of this film that, yeah, you could tell that the whole ending of this was changed by James Gunn to set up his reboot. There is no question about it. This person said, just got into a flash press screening. I'll post my thoughts soon. I agree with this guy to an extent. But I didn't hate the ending as much as I did, and I'll talk more about that here in a few minutes. So the next photo and the final photo I have today talks about the predictions for The Flash. The box office projections of the Flash movie have been dropped to $70 million from $130 million from the domestic opening weekend. Things aren't looking good. 100% true. That's on track with what Black Adam did. So you know what? Maybe the only people going to see this are the Snyder fans, right? Right? Because the real DC fans apparently aren't showing up. So let's talk about some stuff. First thing I wanted to mention is I do not hate this movie. In fact, I think there are some people that are going to go and love it. If you like comedy, the comedy is mostly really well done. The two Barrys interacting is absolutely hilarious, but it takes up too much of the film. Whereas, after that, when they meet up with Batman and, everything starts to happen, all of that stuff seems super rushed. Like, by the time they finally get there, so much time has passed in the film where it would have been better served to build the storyline. And then when you have to deal with the whole dark Flash in this, it was tacked on. And there's a purpose for it, but they maybe should have spent more time in the movie building up the story for the dark Flash than they did with some of this other stuff. You can tell that this movie was tailored for nostalgia, that they want people to go see it because it has Michael Keaton in it. That is why this movie was made. It was nothing other than a ploy to get people to go see it, to grab on those nostalgia heartstrings. I just do not understand how they could fumble this so badly. But the ending that they were talking about, yes, you could tell that the ending, there's a specific part of it in that finale, not the very ending, in that finale, that was definitely changed by Gunn to meet his DCU. Now, like I said, my wife is going to go see this, and I bet you she's going to like it a lot. She liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3 more than I did. There is a part of The Flash that is emotional, could have been more emotional had they taken it more seriously for the rest of the film and built upon that storyline a little more. I think it was there, but it wasn't front and center, and it should have been. Rather than focusing on the two Barrys, why don't we build that story a little bit more to make it more impactful? Now, what you're going to want to do is, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, now is the time to leave. Because I'm going to talk about the very final scene, and I'm going to talk about one of the cameos that was revealed by Variety. So the stuff I'm revealing is not from me. And these are things that, we can have a discussion about. And I may do a live stream over the weekend if I have time. And I'll field people's questions about the film. But I'm being told the one I saw was not the final version by Andy Muschietti himself and by everybody who's talking about supposedly having seen the ending. So, the big cameo is Nicolas Cage as Superman. He has the longest cameo when Barry is going through the Speed Force and seeing all these different iterations. His was the longest. Back when they were going to do Superman Lives, there was storyboards where he was supposed to fight a big spider. We get to see him fight that big spider. That whole sequence is in there. It's probably a good 20 to 30 seconds. And they do show Nicolas Cage in there. He's been de-aged. Like I said before, it's all the, what do you call it? It's a cartoonish look for everybody. So nobody looked 100% real. And it's all in that same vein. Okay, so that is the big cameo. Now, there was no George Clooney Batman in this, which leads me to believe that there are some changes coming because everybody confirmed that he is in it, but he was not in the version that I saw. That's for damn sure. So that does lead me into the very final scene, the very last scene. And this is kind of what pissed me off and why I think what they're doing with Gunn is just a cheap cop-out. When Barry finally gets back, the very last scene is him leaving court. He's going out, to meet with the press. Bruce Wayne calls him on the phone, and Barry's like, "Oh, it's great to hear your voice. I went all through this stuff. I'm back now." He goes, "Great. I'm pulling up. I'll be there in a second." You can't quite tell whose voice it is. All of a sudden, Bruce Wayne's car pulls up. People flood the car. And then you don't see Bruce Wayne get out, but you hear the door open, and then Barry says, "Who the F is that?" That's how it ended. they're going to say that and you'll see how Michael Keaton explains the multiverse in the film. And this is one possible strand that he could be on that they could easily fix in the future. So this is how they're going to explain how some people are the same, some are different. We're going to see. I don't know if the actor who did the voice in that phone call is the guy who's going to be taking over, but I sure as heck hope that it's not. I hope they're not going to show George Clooney come get out of that car. Now, some people are assuming it's actually going to be not Hayden Christensen. Why am I saying that? What's his name who was in the Dark Knight movies? I could see his face. Why am I forget his name off the top of my head? You guys know who I'm talking about. But suppose some people think it's going to be him who comes in to play Batman. I will tell you, I would prefer that over Pattinson. I will tell you that. And I don't think the voice sounded like Pattinson. And when I go see the final film, I am going to try to pay really close attention. I'm really good at picking up on voices, because of what I do. And usually I could tell who it is. And I could tell you when I saw the movie the first time, I was like, that does not sound like Ben Affleck. And so you could see how they're going to change this. And I think it's the cheap way out. But the other thing, and I took a picture of this and it did not upload, but there was, and this is strange. Let me, because I totally forgot about this. But at any rate, I'll have to pick up that story on the next video. But I'm going to briefly talk about what this is, and I'm going to mention something in the comments for people to jump to the end if they want to find this out. But Brendan Fraser came out and said that the real reason Batgirl got canceled is because it did not fit into Gunn's DCU, which would tell you that they had this stuff planned out way long before they ever, and this goes back to my comment about them trying to sell Henry Cavill just to get people to go buy tickets, and they knew that this was going to happen. He said the reason they took it out is there was stuff that connected to the DCEU in his film, and because it didn't match James Gunn's universe, they had to cancel it, and that's the real reason it got canceled. He said it had nothing to do with the quality or the look of the film, which is unfortunate. If that's true, we definitely got robbed. Like, they had this whole grand plan to screw everything up, and they're doing it hell or high water. They just don't care what the fans think. All right, so there's my update for the day. I will be back with more updates as the days go by and more information gets released. I do appreciate the support. If you haven't already liked the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified as I have new videos go up.